Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to take a look at a pretty cheap and available team for Ultra League that I managed to do very well with. This is not the most balanced team at all. You're incredibly weak to electric and also quite weak to some steel types, but it is possible to play away out of some quite difficult situations as I'm going to show you. And overall I managed to have a lot of fun with this team and I gained exactly 100 elo in one day. Going into the first game, we lead into a Shadow Gliscor. Amazing lead. We have to watch out for what they swap into. They swap into Golisopod. You want to be very quick with swapping into Charizard in this situation. The game before this, I swapped a little bit too late, so I had to make a call. If you swap after only one Shadow Claw, you will be able to outpace to 3 Dragon Claws before they get to 2 X's and a Liquidation, so it doesn't matter if they bait. If you're a little bit too late, you have to make a call, which is what I did in the game before this. I did make the right call and then I just completely RPS'd my opponent, so not a game worth featuring. But this time around, we can just get to 3 Dragon Claws before they get to enough moves. Also, they decided to no-shield the first one, to shield the second one, but now we can just farm down this Golisopod, come out with a lot of HP and a bit of energy. I'm thinking they might just want to sacrifice their Gliscor because they know it's going up against the Shadow Walrein. So I'm not even considering the bait, but they do actually shield it. I think I might be able to get to another Blast Burn, but my opponent thinks the same thing. They overfarm by 4 here. It's 5 for the Night Slash, and then it's 8 for the Earthquake afterwards. So they will be able to get to it, and it's boosted now because they got the boost. A boosted Earthquake one-shots Walrein. So I catch it on Golisopod instead, and then they bring in a Walrein. Of course, Golisopod resisting the Earthquake. Earthquake still doing so much damage because they got that boost. And now we can get to this excess, but Trevenant farms Golisopod all the way down, comes out with 10 Shadow Claws worth of energy, so there will be 2 away from the back-to-back, so we can do 1 more Powder Snow after this, and then go for the Icicle Spear to take out the Trevenant. And now it's going to come down to, can we outpace the Gliscor as well? It should be 4 wing attacks away, I think. So yes, we can get to this Icicle Spear on the Gliscor, and obviously double super effective. It's going to take it out. Good game. Next game, lead into a Jellicent, my arch nemesis in Ultra League. I absolutely hate it. If you face this on the safe swap, you can just swap into Golisopod, and then as long as you shield the Shadow Ball correctly, as in just shield the first move because it's never baiting, you will be able to win the 1s and 2s. But in the lead, it's not nice to see. I really should just start baiting here because I feel like they shield it every time. It just feels like such a risky bait. As they overfarm by 1 and get to another Shadow Ball here, I'm hoping they go for the bait. I don't really want to shield my Walrein. They go straight for the Shadow Ball, and as I say, they come out with 1 Hex worth of energy. It's 5 for the first 2 Shadow Balls, and then 4 for the third, so they are at it now, so do shield it up. It would do quite a lot of damage. And now we can overfarm a little bit. It should be 5 for the second, for the next Shadow Ball, so they should be 2 away at this point. I'm thinking, can this next Liquidation take them out? I'm not sure, and also I was a little afraid they might try to catch if I threw in CMP, so I do let them get off this next Shadow Ball, and then I try to farm them down with Charizard. A little bit optimistic potentially, but they bring in a Nidoqueen, and we get 2 wing attacks advantage. If you get 1 wing attack advantage, you will be able to outpace to 2 Blast Burns before they get to 2 Poison Fangs. So we should be able to overfarm by 1 here, and it does about 69% to a Nidoqueen. Nice. So it should hopefully be able to take it out here as we go for the second Blast Burn on CMP. And it does take out the Nidoqueen, very nice. And now what do they bring in? They bring back in the Jellicent. They should be 2 away from the surf, so yes, it was quite optimistic to farm the downward Charizard. Do have to go for this Dragon Claw in order to take it out. And then it's a Registeel in the back. Very nice, the Charizard is still alive. I'm not sure that a Liquidation plus a Blast Burn is enough to take it out, because a Blast Burn only does about 69%. I think it was 65 for the Nidoqueen. So I actually swap into Golisopod after farming up to the Blast Burn to try and get the defense debuff on the Registeel before throwing the Blast Burn. But I think from this range, the Blast Burn should still be enough to take out the Registeel, and that is a good game. Next game, lead into a Skuntank, Shadow Skuntank. You can take 1 move from this. It's not comfortable. It's such an annoying Pokemon to deal with, Skuntank. But we can take the first one. It does take 7 for the first, 6 for the second crunch. It does a lot of damage. And then I farm up to almost 100 energy. I think this was a bit of a mistake. I should have probably realized I wouldn't be able to get to an Icicle Spear and an Earthquake. So I should have just gone for the Icicle Spears immediately to not give the Skuntank this extra amount of farm. Because I'm going to save my Walrein for a potential sack later by bringing the Golisopod. Yes. Do take this crunch. Does a lot of damage once again, and then they bring in a Tapu Fini. Yikes. It takes the equivalent of 7 Shadow Claws for the first serve, and then the equivalent of 6.5 for the second 2. So we can't go for this liquidation. We get the defense drop. I've been quite lucky with defense drop, but we cannot let Golisopod go yet. It has, like, the Tapu Fini has to be put into a range where Charizard can handle it, or we have to grab the shield, so 1 Blast Burn is enough, so we don't have to take too much Water Gun. As we go up to right before they get to another move, go for the liquidation. We do grab the shield, and now we get to another liquidation as well. This should bring the Tapu Fini quite low because of the debuff, and Golisopod has actually put in a lot of work for us. I let it go down to keep my switch timer open, so we can catch this serve onto Walrein. Very nice, also a bit of a risky catch really, but that means they're not getting to another serve onto Charizard, and then they bring in a Trevenant. We can't just go straight for this Blast Burn. The Skuntank is so low, the Tapu Fini is so low, we should be able to wing attack everything else down. Take out the Trevenant, very satisfying animation with the Blast Burn, and that is a good game. Next game, lead into a Shadow Dragonite, very good lead. But they swap into a Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and you might think Golisopod walls this because it resists all of its charge moves. It really isn't a good matchup for Golisopod somehow. So I do decide to stay in with Walrein and try to get some sort of advantage by going for a very risky bait, and we do grab the shield. People just like to shield their Alolan Sandslashes, I feel. And then bring in a Golisopod to take all of these charge moves. And yeah, Golisopod can take a few of these. We can't go for this liquidation after overfarming quite a lot. It's still new enough to the meta. I feel that people aren't quite as aware of how long it takes for the Golisopod to get to its charge moves. So yeah, overfarming is pretty nice. They go for the Ice Punch and then swap into Dragonite, saving a bit of energy on the Alolan Sandslash. I think it's on 2 Shadow Claws if I remember correctly. So 3 away from the next Ice Punch as we get yet another debuff, and then I make a huge mistake. I knew it was on like 2 Dragon Breath away from the next move, so really shouldn't have made this CMP, but yeah, that's just poor. Now I have to hope that they don't get to another one. It does take the equivalent of 6 wing attacks for it to get to it, so they don't get to it, and now we get a massive farm down with Charizard. Charizard with energy of a shield. If you know me, if you've seen my videos before, you know I'm licking my lips and very excited to see what comes in. It is a Cobalion, we don't have to bait here. Can just go straight for the Blast Burns. They don't have a lot of fast move pressure. And once again, this is an opponent that I think he might know me a little bit, so I'm anticipating that he's gonna anticipate the CMP tie. So I just overfarm instead, do 3 more wing attacks, then go for the Dragon Claw right before they get to a move on Sandslash, and then get to this Blast Burn on Cobalion, and obviously this is gonna take out the Cobalion, and that is a good game. Next game, lead into Golisopod. Yikes, have to swap into our own Golisopod immediately. It's actually not that bad for Walrein, but it is a bad matchup. We have greeted by a Giratina, which I wasn't really expecting. We can win switch here by expending shields, but Charizard down shields against Golisopod is not where we want to be, so I would rather like farm this down with Walrein and just give switch advantage away. Hope that maybe they expend a shield here, which would be quite nice so we can get a shield advantage. But they don't, and they get to another Dragon Claw here. Throw it right before we get to another move. Nice counting by my opponent. And again, I could shield and get switch advantage, but I don't want to let the Golisopod farm down my Golisopod afterwards and come out with a lot of energy and be down shield with Charizard. I don't think that would be the right play. They bring back in the Golisopod. It takes 5 for the first, 4 for the second X Scissor, and then 5, 4, 5, 4, I think, for quite a while. So they should still have some energy. I really want them to expend all of their energy, which they do now. They should be dry at this point. So now we can go for this Icicle Spear and then bring in Charizard. I didn't want to bring in Charizard on the loaded Golisopod, but now that it's dry, I feel a lot more comfortable bringing in Charizard. And then they bring in a Walrein. And this is quite awkward because the Powder Snows are going to put Charizard into a range in the 2 shields where 1 Icicle Spear is enough, and you need 4 wing attacks advantage in order to go straight Blast Burn against the Walrein and outpace all the way. So we do need 1 bait, and we get 1 bait, and now we can go straight for the Blast Burns. There should be a back-to-back Icicle Spears. It takes 5 for every Icicle Spear. So they should be 5 away from 2 more, so they throw 3 more, and now they should be 2 away, so we can overfarm by 1. on this Walrein, I think, if I counted correctly, of course. So we go up to the CMP tie on the Walrein, which, of course, Charizard is going to win. This should obviously take out the Walrein. And now they bring back in the Golisopod. Can we outpace to a Dragon Claw? Yes, we can. We get there on the CMP once again. Absolutely perfect. And this takes out the Golisopod, and that is a good game. I love Charizard. Charizard is amazing. Lead into a Deoxys. Next game, yikes. Swap into Golisopod once again. But this is another situation where I don't really want to go down shields for switch. Because Charizard down shields against Deoxys? No. They bring in a Snorlax after giving me quite a large head start on energy. And it takes 6 for, like the equivalent of 6 Shadow Claws to get to the first 2 Body Slams and 5.5 for the third. So we can outpace not to a Liquidation and an X-Scissor, but because we got the debuff with the Liquidation, I think 2 X-Scissors might be enough. This might force the shield out of the opponent if they want to keep switch advantage, which they think they will, they want to. So we can get the shield advantage with the X-Scissor because we got to it before they got to a Body Slam. Now they do get to a Body Slam to take out Golisopod. I'm just going to farm them all the way down with Walrein. You can take a Superpower. It's not comfortable. It does about 60%. But I am completely fine with taking whatever they want to throw at me. It's only the Body Slam. They're probably running Earthquake. And then we come out with a lot of energy on Walrein and a shield advantage. Go straight for the Earthquake. I just want to do as much damage as possible. And then dip out into Charizard. I think we might have denied them off of a fast move there, which is a little bit unfortunate. But of course, we want to shield everything from this Deoxys. My opponent smartly realizes that and goes for the Psycho Boost before swapping out into a Clefable. And this is all of a sudden looking very doable. It takes 7 for the Moonblast, 6 for the Meteor Mashes, and 1 less for the third one. So we can take one move. I don't want to shield from the move from Clefable because it's the move from Deoxys. I want to shield also the Deoxys overfarm quite a lot. A Blast Burn does about 65%, and as I say, it takes 7 for the Moonblast and then 6 for the Meteor Mash. So we can CMP tie them with this Blast Burn, takes out the Clefable, and now we can get to another Blast Burn on the Deoxys, which is of course gonna take out the Deoxys, and another incredible sweep by Charizard. Next game, lead into a Virizion. This is a bit of a tough game, not gonna lie. You might have seen this team before. Yes, it is the team that you might be thinking about. And you might be thinking, what the hell do you do against it? Because now they bring in an Ampharos. I'm thinking I might be able to get off 2 Icicle Spears here. So I go for it. But I can't. And now the Ampharos has a lot of energy. And I have a Golisopod and a Charizard. Yikes. I'm really hoping they're running Brutal Swing plus Focus Blast or maybe Zap Cannon and they're afraid to throw it. But no, they run Thunder Punch, which is absolutely terrible. I let it go, hoping it was a Brutal Swing. We can't get to the Liquidation. My opponent is very much realizing that I am incredibly weak to Ampharos, so they do shield it. Now we bring in Charizard onto a loaded Ampharos. Yikes. They do get to another one. It's 3-2-3-2 for the Thunder Punches and Brutal Swings. So they should be 2 away from the next one. I'm hoping that a Dragon Claw is enough from this range. Looking at it afterwards, it does about 35%. This is actually very close. But it does take out the Ampharos without overfarm a little bit. So we do have a little bit of energy. I'm expecting the Shadow Magnet Zone to come in because I'm very much knowing what this team is. I should have done one more wing attack. I didn't want to get too low by the spark damage, so I wanted to throw a little bit before, but because I didn't do it, the Virizion is going to be able to outpace, so I try to catch on Golisopod. We barely don't get off the X-Scissor. If we had gotten off that X-Scissor, I think we might have been able to take out this Virizion with a Dragon Claw, but not quite. We almost beat the double electric team, but not quite. That was tough. Next game, lead into a Shadow Charizard. This is a bit of a tough lead. Go up to right before they get to the Blast Burn, and then go for the Icicle Spear, which they actually let go, and then they wait a turn, nice by my opponent, and then go for a move. They do have the Blast Burn, but we call it, it's only a Dragon Claw. We should be able to get to an Icicle Spear before they get to the Blast Burn, so they actually end up only throwing the Dragon Claw here, and now I kind of want to save this move, and not get farmed down, so I swap into Golisopod, and my opponent, at the same time, swaps into Cresselia. Amazing! Thank you, opponent. My opponent probably didn't want to get farmed down with their Charizard either. They wanted to save it for a sack later. But this is a quite good matchup. Not as good of a matchup as you might want it to be, because obviously you're doing super effective damage with both fast moves and charge moves. So you should have a very comfortable matchup here, but not really. It takes 665 for the Grass Knot, so go up to right before they get to another one, then go for an X-Scissor, or 2 before, I think. And then I should probably go for the CMP here, because the switch time is not up, but I do decide to wait a turn, and then go for the next X-Scissor, and they should take out the Cresselia, takes out the Cresselia, then they bring in Swampert, go up to the Liquidation, wait a turn, they try to catch on Charizard, so I save the energy on my Golisopod, then bring in Charizard to farm down their Charizard. They do get 2 Hydro Cannon. Of course, this is gonna one-shot Shadow on Shadow, so we do need to shield it up. The Swampert is also ahead on energy, which is a little bit not ideal. So we can go for this first Dragon Claw, and then I'm expecting them to expect me to go for the Blast Burn, so actually just go for the Dragon Claw instead to get this off. Now they're gonna have to make an incredible undercharge in order to leave my Charizard in a range where they can farm me down. That's very difficult with a Hydro Cannon, they can't quite do it. And now we have a move on Walrein and a move on Golisopod. So I can't bring in the Walrein. I can really go any order. I think it's safer to go Walrein, because I'm pretty sure I can get to 2 moves before they get to a move, or before they farm me down. Go for the Icicle Spear. My opponent realizes I have way too much energy everywhere, so they just let it go and concede the match. Next game, lead into a Virizion. Please don't be double electric again, I beg of you. They go straight for a move. If you have Sacred Sword and Leaf Blade is actually a better move than Sacred Sword. So that is the correct move to go for, and then we can go for the Icicle Spear. I'm expecting my opponent to realize I'm 1 Powder Snow away from the next move, so I'm expecting them to go for the Leaf Blade immediately. So I try to catch it on Charizard. Instead, I ended up farming them down with all that energy, which is absolutely fine. And then they bring in an Rarus or something like that. And go straight for the Blast Burn. It takes 8 for the Meteor Beam, 5 for the Weather Ball, and then 1 less for the second one, and then, yeah, so on and so forth. They go straight for the Meteor Beam. It would also be a Boom. And then it's 4 for the Weather Ball, because it's 1 less for the second move always. So I go for the Blast Burn right before they get to it, and then they farm up to 1 before they're the back-to-back Weather Balls. So I do shield up the first one, and then we can go for the CMP, or catch the move on Walrein. Very nice. I'm not really sure how much a Blast Burn does. I'm pretty sure Liquidation is not enough to take this out. So if I bring in Golisopod, I'm going to be able to outpace 2 at Liquidation, but then they're just going to get to a Meteor Beam and one-shot me. So I bring back in the Charizard, and then I go up to right before they get to the next Weather Ball. Wait a turn to make sure it's not caught. Go for it. And they live on 1 HP. Yikes. Now it's all going to come down to, can Golisopod beat whatever they have in the back? And the response is no. They have a Registeel. I'm thinking, maybe, I don't know how much damage a Zap Cannon does at this point. Maybe we can live a Zap Cannon, avoid the attack debuff, get a defense debuff with Liquidation, and get to 3 moves before they get to 2 Zap Cannons. But a Zap Cannon just does too much damage, and it puts us into a range where we're just gonna get locked on down, and also we get the attack drop, and also, looking back at it, we are now outpacing to 3 Liquidations. That was a tough game, or a tough end matchup. Next game, lead into a Core Breaker. I play Registeel the same way as I play here. I'm trying to get some sort of advantage with Walrein here. You can go for a bait because they're very much realizing that obviously I'm weak to Middle Metal at the back as well. So it makes sense to go for the bait, but I just wanted to make sure I got some sort of advantage. And then I swap in Golisopod into a loaded Melmetal, which is really not a good situation either. I try to go for the CMP here to try and get some sort of advantage, but then they just load up on energy with the Melmetal, swap into Dragonite, and this is just absolutely terrible. We can get to another Liquidation, but I actually don't want this to do a lot of damage. I hope they are gonna take out my Walrein immediately, and then I want to leave the Dragonite in farm range for my Charizard to get as much farm as possible on Charizard. So I'm gonna bring my Walrein, hope they're gonna take it out immediately. I should probably not do that Powder Snow. So now they go for the Superpower. I really hope they were gonna go for the Dragon Claw. Going for the Superpower, lowers their defense. I get less energy. Yikes. The Melmetal has a move stored. It's always 5 for the Rock Slides. But then they bring in a Charizard. They go straight for the Dragon Claw. If we don't shield this, they're farming us down. So I have to shield it, even though it's only a Dragon Claw. And then I go up to the CMP because of my stats, my IVs. I'm expecting to win the CMP. It does about 65% to a Charizard, so we do take it out, come out with a lot of energy. They had a move stored, they did 1 Thunder Shock, so they should be 4 away from the next one. Can we get to a Dragon Claw and a Blast Burn before they get there? We go up to right before they get to the Rock Slide. Go for the Dragon Claw bait. Do they call it? No, they don't. They shield it, and we get to the Blast Burn, and we somehow overcome a Melmetal lead with this team. Blast Burn takes out the Melmetal, and that is a good game. Next game, lead into another Virizion. Yikes. Or actually not yikes. I'm not sure why I'm saying yikes. It's a pretty good lead, actually. I think they lagged a little bit, so I got in one more fast move. And then they swap into Clefable. We swap into Charizard. This is a very good matchup for Charizard because you resist everything unless they're running Psychic. But Clefables usually don't tend to run Psychic. I think they went up to 8. And as I say, it's 7 for the Moonblast, 6 for the Meteor Mashes. So we should be able to get to this Blast Burn on the CMP with the Meteor Mash. And then they should be 5 away from the next Meteor Mash if they decide to shield this. I think it would have been very close to knocking out. It does about 65. I think it would have knocked out. And then it's 1 less, so there's 5 for the next Meteor Mash. So we can do 5 more wing attacks. And then once again, go for the CMP with the Blast Burn to come out with as much energy as possible if it takes them out. And it does. And that's nice. And then they bring in a Charizard. And I go straight for the Blast Burn. This does a lot of damage to Charizard, although it is resisted. And then I make a bit of a misplay. I think I should have swapped in Walrein and just went for the Icicle Spear immediately, instead of swapping Golisopod. And these Shadow Claws are just not doing quite enough to threaten a farm down. They do go straight for the Blast Burn, which we shield, which is very nice. And then they swap into Virizion, and I threw in bad timing. They went up to a Dragon Claw, one before the Blast Burn. And it takes 5 for the Stone Edge, so we can do 3 more here because the Virizion was dry. And now go for the X-Scissor, but I don't really want to take it out. I don't want to leave it with 1 HP, so if they went straight for the Stone Edge and take me out, I would have been able to farm them down with Charizard instead, which would have been fine. But because I was able to do that 1 more Shadow Claw, I'm pretty sure that put them into a range where 1 X-Scissor was enough. They do go for the Leaf Blade, indicating they don't have Stone Edge, so they probably only have Leaf Blade Sacred Sword, so catch the next Leaf Blade on Virizion, bring back in the Golisopod, and then I make a huge mistake. I should just take them out. My opponent makes for a very, very good play here. They save the energy on Virizion, bring in the Charizard to take out Golisopod. We can farm down the Charizard with Walrein, but because they save that energy on Virizion, this CMP is very close. But because I have such a good IV Walrein, and they might have a raid IV Virizion, Virizion wins it. And that is a loss. GG. Next game. Lead into Cobalion. Yikes. But they counter swap a Gliscor onto Golisopod, which is really not all that good of a counter swap. Golisopod can win this in every even shield scenario. Because the Shadow Claws add up so much after landing 1 liquidation in the 2 shields. I don't really want to do that. Because if they get energy advantage on Cobalion, I don't really care if I get my Charizard onto it. It's still not a very good matchup, so I'm really hoping to grab a shield advantage instead, which would be much better for me. And also my opponent made a bit of a mistake by going for that second Night Slash, although it wasn't quite enough. So now they come out with pretty much no energy on their Gliscor, meaning we can farm them down with Charizard and then get 2 Blast Burn on this Pidgeot, which doesn't quite take it out. Really yikes. I'm thinking there's no way they're going Brave Bird. They're definitely going to try and debuff me here. So actually very riskily decide to no-shield it and then bring in Walrein to clear my debuffs. But now they bring in the Cobalion, and it had 1 double kick from before swapping. And now they did 4 more, so they should be 1 away from back-to-back Sacred Swords. It's always 3 for the Sacred Swords. And then they get to another one. I'm thinking I don't want to shield and then have the Earthquake shielded and then they farm me all the way down. So instead, I decided to save both shields for my Charizard, which was maybe a little bit foolish because these double kicks are doing some damage and I'm getting very low with my Charizard. They're just going for fast moves, which is the correct play at this point because they're not getting to 3 charge moves. My Charizard is very low, the Pidgeot is very low, but we do manage to farm it down and that is a good game. That was the last battle for today, and overall I think this is a good team, but not the best team in the world. It's one of those teams where it just felt good to play it, and I had a lot of fun as well, so from that perspective I would recommend it, and also gained 100 elo with it, so it can't be that bad at least. Other than that, fun fact of the day, Shadow Walrein wins the 0 shield scenario versus Golisopod with 2 powders, no advantage, so you need to be quick with your counter swapping Golisopod onto Shadow Walrein. This is a little bit IV dependent, but it is a good thing to be aware of. Other than that, if you like what you see, or you feel like you learned something, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.